With you as we get our second match of the afternoon underway. Eddie Barker takes on Callum Singleton. Two players very close together in the rankings, 43 and 45. Although it's worth saying that Callum's done that a year quicker than Eddie. Those are points from this season, so he's got off to a good start. One runners-up spot already earlier on in the season. The number one ranked player on the Challenger event last time around, which is why he got promoted. But up against a very experienced opponent in the shape of Eddie Barker. Good afternoon, Aaron.
Yeah, you're right, Matt.
Bit of a congested layout for this first frame. All the balls seem to have clustered together at the top of the table. So Eddie, unsurprisingly, bailing out from that visit. No obvious clearance to go after. Callum Singleton did so well last season. He was coming into the Challenger event as a well-fancied player to get promoted, but you've still got to go out there and do the business on the table, and he's kind of continued that in his first season as a pro. Looks very comfortable out there.
Yeah, last year when Callum was playing in the Challenger Series, I think most of the players knew that he was probably a professional standard, and obviously he's shown that this year through a couple of the tournaments.
Yeah, very good run at event 5, losing out ultimately, event 2 I should say, losing out ultimately to Chris Melling, 8-3 in the final. A fairly lean season apart from that. 3 preliminary round losses, 3 last 64 losses, 1 last 16. It kind of shows how tough the standard is if you can be in the final one week and then struggling to get out of the first round the next week.
Yeah, I know Callum quite well. I grew up playing with him on the England team and juniors and stuff like that, and I think probably maybe the one weakness that he has is maybe he struggles to play well from the start of the tournament. I know when he settles in, he's as good as anybody, but I've noticed a couple of times, he can get some bad results early on in tournaments, and probably just because he's just not settled in yet. And same for everybody, but certainly something I've noticed.
Yeah, it's such a key part of the game, isn't it? Settling into tournaments, particularly in this format where you're not guaranteed easy early matches like you maybe would in days gone by on bigger tours where there were some non-pros in the earlier rounds. It's important both to get off to a good start in any individual game and also to get off to a good start in the tournament. We were just talking off air at the beginning about how long a wait it is if you do lose your first round match. You're not going to be playing again until Saturday, so effectively got a day and a half off. Matches played to the same format as we've seen for the rest of the Pro Series this year, so 50-minute match clock, races to 7. Would be a 6-round shootout if the scores were tied when the match clock got down to 0. It's quite a long clock though for Pro standard matches, so I don't think we'll see the match clock be a factor in too many games this weekend. Usually tactical frame this. There aren't that many situations in this rule set where you get this kind of pool played, but both players struggling for any attacking options, so just trying to play kind of containing safeties and promote their balls.
Yeah, the situation at the moment is Callum does have control of the table at the moment, but probably doesn't want to go for a finish until he feels it's, he's very favourite to get the finish with him being in control. So it's the reason why we're seeing him still hold back and just trying to position his balls into better positions where he's a very good chance of making the finish then.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point, isn't it? Because if you are in a dominant position in a frame and then you go for a clearance, that's the easiest way to turn the frame round and not be in a dominant position anymore if you don't get it. So I think the referee is just being asked here whether this is a stalemate, which would be the case if there's no path out. It doesn't matter if the shot would be a difficult one to play, it's a question of whether there is theoretically a path that the white can take out either through the yellows, which is what he's looking at now, or coming off the cushion the other side. So the referee indicating that he thinks there is a path out, so it wouldn't be a re-rack.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I know he's looking at the gap between the yellows, but I feel like there would have been a gap between the cushion and the yellow as well. I'm always not 100% of the rules in these situations, but
yeah, I mean the rule, you understand why it's like that, but it does feel a slightly odd one, which is that it's all about whether theoretically there's a gap that the white could go through. If the only gap was the one between the cushion and the ball, it would be almost impossible to actually play the shot. As it was, the referee's decision was that there was a gap between the yellows, so armed with that information, Eddie felt obliged to try and play it that way, but it always looked like it was a gap that was barely any bigger than the cue ball. It would actually have been a very harsh result if Callum had played what was an excellent safety shot to get into that position. If he'd have left a re-rack, it would have been quite harsh. So ball in hand, but giving some thought to how he opens things up. Played that pretty well. So another of the pros, Dylan Leary, looking on. Good friend of Eddie Barker's. There again is an example. It was a potential finish, but decided that it wasn't worth losing the initiative from what is otherwise such a good position for yellows.
yeah, now although he does look like he is in total control this frame, certainly with these rules, he does have to be careful not to leave Eddie at some point a loss of turn shot, which could basically turn the frame round in just one shot. That's a very good shot from Eddie because, to be honest, I would put Eddie favourite now because he's blocked the yellows up, stopping Callum from clearing up. But at some point, he's also going to get to play the loss of turn shot.
Good self-restraint from Eddie, because there would have been an argument there for just smashing into those reds a bit harder and just trying to make something happen. But played the positive shot, or rather played the well thought through shot that had a positive tactical outcome. There was a moment Callum thought he hadn't hit that hard enough, but this table has been reclothed before the match, so likely to be playing pretty quickly. Played a decent shot. I think he was actually trying to add the icing to the cake by also possing the yellow that the cue ball's finished nearer to. That would have been an excellent outcome from his point of view if that had dropped as well.
I'll tell you what, that's a fantastic shot from Callum because I thought he was in a world of trouble there and somehow he's found a way to open that bad yellow up and still leave all Eddie's reds on this top cushion.
You'd have to say, even though I'd be tempted to look at this frame and say 8.5 minutes played and nobody's gone for a clearance yet as being a negative frame, but there's actually been a very good standard of tactical play. Both players have played some good and at times quite difficult shots. Referee just confirming that the white is touching the yellow. So not obligated to hit another ball, he's obligated to hit a cushion. That part of the shot still needs to be made, but can choose to, even though it's a touching ball, he's playing a different yellow. Bit of a shot to nothing that, because if that drops in, he's got the ball over the top right hand corner, but in fact it isn't immediately disastrous, although again a chance ready to turn things around. So it seems like the tactical situation has largely been resolved now.
Surely he hasn't landed there with the cue ball. Oh my god.
It's amazing, isn't it? You see that so often when you've had a long tactical frame, somehow when you're finally left an easy position to clear up from it, sort of out of sync with your normal game. So now having to play for the more difficult ball over the pocket. Oh, he's played that well though. What a good recovery shot that was from Callum Singleton. Put himself in a load of trouble. Back in prime position though. Well, in the end, he's reaping the rewards of some very good tactical play earlier on in this frame. Good standard actually from both players, but it's Callum Singleton that gets the first frame on the board. So I think he's looking for a slightly different kind of layout this time, hoping to have a more open split of the ball so he can go for a clearance. Cue ball zigzagging across the table, but does stay on the playing surface. Style of break, you do often see the balls get a bit more clustered up, and that's kind of what's happened here.
Looks like he's going to be playing the red off the yellow into the centre pocket, and what that's done is opened the other red up into the left centre as well now. Fortunately, I think he's landed a little bit awkward with the cue ball and not 100% sure if he can pot a ball from here, maybe the one to the left centre. He's missed it completely. It was certainly tight as well, and with the cue ball on the top cushion it certainly wasn't easy.
Yeah, it's one of those ones he's sort of almost playing to miss. He's obviously not actually playing to miss, but just trying to catch it as thin as possible. Don't think Andy will be too disappointed with the first frame. He was never in perfect shape, but kind of battled well into it. Good chance now though to open his account. You probably have to regard this as a fair draw for both players. Saying at the beginning, very close together in the rankings. Really such a thing as an easy first round match.
Yeah, certainly in the Pro Series, the days have gone of having them easy draws early on and, you know, being able to play your way into the tournaments.
It does make it all the more important though, what you were saying about Callum on occasion maybe taking a bit longer to settle into a tournament. Something you've got to adapt to with this format. It's of course much easier said than done. Like, everybody wants to get off to a good start, it's just how you achieve it.
Yeah, and it's something that everyone's going to struggle with, but some people deal with it better than others.
It's also something that comes with more experience of playing out in these conditions. Certainly not short of match practices, Callum, but hasn't played as much, of course, until this season out in this main arena. Slightly different format this weekend. Taking a bit more time to complete event 1, which is this Pro Series 9 final on Saturday night, so giving more people a chance out in the main arena tables. So we've got another 5 tables in play just behind those screens at the back, the other pro event tables. So, 2 very contrasting frames. A slow tactical one first, goes the way of the man on the right hand side of the screen.
I didn't actually know until this year. Obviously he come through the amateur rankings last year and I'd never heard of him, and obviously now I know why everyone's been talking about him, because what I've seen of him this year, he looks very good, and he's obviously a young player as well, and he's got plenty of time to get himself to the top.
Yeah, that's been one nice thing about the Pro Series, the range of different backgrounds of people getting to this stage. We've got a lot of the young players coming through, but the two gentlemen in shot there, Eddie Barker and Dylan Leary, been at the top of the game for a long time. Bring a lot of experience to the table.
It's funny actually, you mentioned Dylan's there watching, and obviously we know in the Pairs Cup on Monday nights he plays with Eddie Barker, but also in the World Doubles Championship, obviously with him being teammates with Callum for Northern Ireland, they played doubles in the World Championship, so who's he going to be supporting?
Yeah, that's very true. Yes, he's very supportive. He and Eddie often watches each other's matches, but yes, he's had that run with Callum as well. Tournament that you've got fond memories of, that World Doubles.
It certainly is, yeah. Any excuse to bring it up.
Got your guaranteed one plug per commentary session. It's been fun to watch though. There's been maybe a bit more doubles action in the last couple of years than there had been previously. I mean, obviously you've enjoyed playing in it. I think a lot of the players have enjoyed it. Oh, that's unlucky. I think he's looking at that thinking there's no gap. Obviously there is a theoretical gap through there, but he's thinking he's never going to find his way past the red. And worse still, not only you look at that angle, it was only because he was playing with so much spin it went forward before it started going down the table, and then managed to manufacture a gap that was never really there.
Yeah, and although it was unlucky to going off, either way he still did miss the two reds, and it certainly wouldn't have been easy to clear up either way. Yeah, of course he's trying to go directly into them reds, which has found a gap behind him.
Kind of played as a two-way shot there. He was hoping that he'd open the balls up, but knew that if they didn't quite come open, he'd probably have a chance to play a reasonably good safety shot back. One of those occasions where having the ball in hand is useful, but the fact it's only one visit sometimes isn't enough to get the frame won there and then, so he's done the right thing. Hard to judge these kind of one cushion escapes when you're as close to the cushion as this.
Foul. Ball in hand.
Better the tables have been recovered before this tournament, but if I understood correctly, the cushions haven't been changed from the last event, which is, I think, actually proved quite a popular decision. Probably means the cushions will play a bit more predictably and less slidey. Also probably just tightens up the pockets a shade. Finished slightly between positional options, but still got a shot. You're happy enough with where these yellows are sitting. It's a kind of straightforward practice finish. Just leave a slight angle on the ball to the bottom right hand corner after this to come up the table.
Yeah, to be honest, I think it doesn't really matter what ball he leaves till the last, but out of the three yellows I probably wouldn't have left the one that he is going to leave till last, which is the bottom right corner, because he could land a little bit of a funny angle on it possibly.
Yeah, I mean there isn't necessarily a right or wrong way. That was my thinking of ideally not leaving that one till last, but should still be fine.
And I mean that is probably just about the funny angle I was talking about as well, because he might just have enough to be able to screw it, but if not, it's not easy to go forward. And that's what I was saying. I mean, I didn't expect it to go wrong, but if any of those three yellows being the last ball could have gone wrong, it was that one.
Not really have a natural angle to screw past that. He was trying to play a controlled shot. Well, no harm done in the end. Finds the double. Bows out though. He'll be back in action on Saturday. Well, I suppose it's always the danger of that break. You're sort of playing from the side. You're always queuing a bit across the front ball. You've just got to be careful you don't go too far across it.
Yeah, his first free breaks, he actually screwed the white back, and what he's not trying to do, which he's done here, is put topspin on the ball, and that's the reason he's ended up topping it into the middle pocket. You won't be too disappointed though, because when the balls are messy like this, it's if you're going to go for a finish and you go 2-3 balls into the finish and you don't get it, you do make your opponent a massive favourite, and obviously this is a tough finish.
Loss of turn.
Quite as played there, didn't want that double kiss, wanted to try and leave the cue ball up tight near the top cushion.
Loss of turn.
So is he going to feel compelled to go for something here? He has just about got an angle, I think, on the ball to the left centre to disturb that cluster, but he's not going to have too much certainty over where everything's going. Or is he going to play the more conservative option?
Yeah, he could certainly cannon into them off the red into the left centre, but maybe feels that the cue ball might have been just skidding off them rather than actually going into them and developing.
It's one of those ones where you'd have been a bit lucky to get both of the reds out. You could realistically see one of them coming out, but perhaps not both. The scores are tied at this point. Obviously means there's no sort of immediate pressure on either player. It's not one of those situations where one person's a long way behind and feels compelled to go for a finish. We know now for sure that we're going to be getting into those last 10 minutes of the match, so the rest of the match is going to be played with a bit more pace. It's looking relatively unlikely now that the match is going to get to a conclusion. If it was to be 7-3 or 7-4, maybe you could see it getting done, but if it stays close, every chance of the match clock being a factor. Wow, how's that a shot for Eddie Barker? Very creative. Spotted that there was a plant towards the opposite centre, off the cushion, plant the red into the red and the yellow together. What a great finish he's fashioned here.
Yeah, and he actually only just spotted that shot on this visit, because if he would have seen it on his last visit where Callum played the loss of turn shot, he could have done the same thing on that visit. Could have potted the one into the left middle and left that plant. So yeah, I think he only just seen that on this visit and played it very well as well. Controlled the cue ball as well.
So as Eddie breaks off in this frame, there's not really any pressure on the outcome. Obviously, in terms of pride of performance, like to dash off a quick clearance to get it over the line 7-4, but 6-4 and 7-4, no real difference between them. Well, not a great rack in the end by the look of things, but actually the balls are split kind of okay, so chance for sort of buzzer beater clearance, but unfortunately for Callum it won't be one that gets him anywhere in the match. It'll just be a highlights reel moment if he does manage to clear these up.